Joe coming in. Antonio. There we go. And then just remove that. And then make sure you're the co-host so you can go on with these things. All right. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for joining. We're getting started. And there you go. Co-host. And we have all control for today's workshop on how to know your customer. And then make sure I think we are streaming now too. Making sure. Yep. So we got the stream going. So yeah. Give people maybe like 2 more minutes maybe, and then we get started. All right. Oh, I need to get my battery charged. Huh? I just realized it. I think I might have one. Not go upstairs. Not have to go upstairs and get it. Give me 1 second. Just need to get the battery. Yeah, laptop. Thank you. So I'm going separate. Wait. I'm about to get it. Patience. Laptop needs some juice. More. So, gee, this is also Small Business Week, so we know that people are at a variety of different events for the day as well. So that also makes it a little challenging, but we still move forward.
I have a small business week story I can share to kind of kick us off.
Okay, perfect. I'm down
And
for that.
it is about, and I guess the story is still in progress, so we're going to see what becomes of it. But I think it's an interesting example of trying to take something that might sound like not great news and trying to make it work in your favor. So there
Mm,
was an article that was released recently that talked about some of the best and worst places to start a small business in. I believe this was just cities in the state of California.
yep.
And the ranking looked at a variety of different factors. Um, as any research does, and so I don't know what all those factors are, but out of 1,334 cities evaluated in this list, Pacifica, which is the city where I live, was ranked 1,334th as far as number, they had the worst possible ranking of places to start a business. And of course, the
Wow.
small business community, um, I think the small business community really felt that because as people who are owning businesses in Pacifica, some of them were able to speak to, these are some of the challenges that we see. These are things that I hope, maybe could be different or better in the future. And what they are trying to do is they're having something called Project 1334, so 1,334. And some of the businesses are looking at what is something that I have here that I could offer for $13.34. And how can I take this and how can we kind of drive some forward momentum with that and get kind of people talking about it and take something that really off the bat sounds like a negative and turn that into an opportunity to have that open discussion with your fellow business owners and with the city and with the community and maybe I hope get some press out of it. So I know Pacifica is not terribly close to Richmond, but I think we have people from all over the place joining the call. So if you ever are in Pacifica, I think there is a really, really vibrant small business community there. And so I hope if you get the opportunity to head down to Pacifica one day, you will go down, you will visit. and you will hopefully frequent some of the businesses that are down there, other than just some of the more well-known places in the city.
Oh, that's awesome. Uh,
Thank you,
that's
Joe.
yeah, for sure. And when you get a chance to read that article, if you have a link to it, if you get a chance to forward it my way, I'll take a look. I'll do a little search, but it's pretty interesting. Be interesting to read that article.
Yeah. Um, I know that today is really meant to be not just a Q&A, but really an opportunity to help those folks who are on the call answer questions about their own business. See, Antalya, that's it. You take something that maybe is negative, or you're like, oh man, this feels bad for us, and you want to take that and you want to do something, you're gonna just what is it? I don't know. You're gonna turn water into wine. You're gonna turn something that you don't like into something that's better. And so, and I think that there's a lot of interesting opportunities to do that with marketing. And I know today the question that we said that we wanted to talk about was identifying your ideal customer. I am really happy to answer questions and speak to this topic. However, given some of the comments that we've seen and then the story that I shared about Pacifica, does anybody have something that maybe is a problem or challenge facing their business? Maybe we can brainstorm together. Is there something that we can take that maybe feels like it's not great and you don't know what to do about it and you want to try and flip it on its head? One thing I have seen small businesses do is actually post their one-star reviews. Someone comes in and they're like, I didn't, I have no idea. They complain about something and they're finding complaints that just feel really outlandish. And I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I think it's the National Park Service has a campaign on this where every so often on social media they'll post 1-star review, Yellowstone was too hot. 1-star review, the Grand Canyon, there was nothing to look at. 1-star review, Big Sur, I don't know, the road. They're just like coming up with all of these things. We're just kind of illustrating this disconnect, but also having a lot of fun with it and using that opportunity to have fun with something, to still kind of get some, as you will, good press and kind of bring some levity to a situation that kind of feels hard, if you're getting a 1-star review. So if anybody's, facing a challenge maybe like that we want to brainstorm together, let's do that. If somebody has questions about their ideal customer or, Teeda, I think this is my ideal customer, but I don't know how to reach them. I thought this was my ideal customer, but those are not the people who are shopping with me. How do I help nurture the people who are actually shopping with me and maybe they can become my ideal customer? This is really meant to be an interactive session. If you don't want to ask your question on camera, you can type the question into the chat and I'll keep an eye on that.
Indeed. Well, Tina, just to start, I mean, a lot of people hear this term ideal target customer, ideal customer, and sometimes people's answer is, well, everybody can use my services. Can you just
Oh,
speak to the difference when it comes to what's the significance of understanding who your ideal customer is?
yes. So admittedly, I actually had this problem myself last year when I said I can offer marketing services to everybody. I want to be accessible to everybody. And this sounds good, right? Teeda is going to be accessible. People like that. She is going to help everyone. That means no matter who comes and talks to her, she's just going to figure out how she can help them. And one thing that happened is because I was starting in a market that was much smaller. I first started by kind of approaching businesses right in my own hometown of Pacifica. And I did sign a couple of clients. A few of them I'm still working with today. And some of them, even though I did work with them last year and we did campaigns and I think we had really good work together, I'm not working with them anymore. And what I learned was even though those customers, maybe they did have a need for my services, but I think where they were in their business was maybe not at the place of the kind of services that I provide. So I'll take a minute just to share a little bit about the kind of work I do, and I will describe for you my ideal customer. And then I will tell you what's happened now that I've leaned into that shift a little bit more.
All right.
So my name is Teeda. I have been working in marketing for almost my entire career, and for the most part, I have actually worked in with other businesses. I've done B2B marketing, and now that I have decided to go freelance, I was trying to figure out what businesses I would most like to work with, and I am most interested in working with nonprofits and kind of like small plus size businesses that are ready to understand that marketing is an investment and ready to have a strategic discussion around marketing. You can have a successful business without hiring me. Like, you don't need to have me. However, there are a lot of things that I can help you and your business or your nonprofit with. And a lot of that is coming up with a marketing strategy, figuring out what channels you need to be on. So, whether that's email, maybe that's your website, maybe that's social media, and then figuring out how to bring all those pieces together so that you can actually reach your ideal customer. And I know I started by saying that, I said I wanted to help everybody who needed marketing help. And the fact of the matter is, it's not always a right fit. Some people maybe just aren't, they're not ready, they're not in the right spot. Maybe they can actually do enough on their own that it's going to work for their needs. And when I adopted this attitude and like took a deep breath, I ended up acquiring two new clients just this year. And those two new clients are paying my full rate. And this is important. I think it was really important for me to hear, and I think it is important for all of you as business owners. Don't cheapen your price. Sometimes, sure, you're going to run a promotion, you're going to run a sale, and I'm hoping that you're doing that really strategically. I need to clear out inventory because I'm going to bring a bunch of stuff in for the holiday season. That might be a good time to reduce some of your prices. I'm making a strategic play because I think a relationship is going to help bring me is going to help bring me the right kind of customers. So I'm going to offer a special pricing package that maybe does have reduced rates from my regular rates, but really trying to still maintain a balance there. So I am working at a rate that is worthwhile for my time because my time and my expertise is worth money and so is all of yours. So I know it's really tempting to say, "Oh, I got to get that customer. I'm going to go in at a really low rate." Make sure you know what your minimum rate is. Make sure to honor that and make sure to understand that there still might be ways you can help those people, even if they're maybe not, they might not be able to maybe afford some of your services. One of the ways I do that is I am working with Wesley and CoBiz, and we're doing free workshops. And I think that that's a really beneficial way for me to help others. Maybe it's not quite as personalized as hiring me one off, working with me individually, but I do think there is a great opportunity for me to be able to help you learn and us to help each other. So I would invite anyone. Has anyone been thinking through some questions or some growing pains around your ideal customers? Do you feel like you have that solid? Or do you feel like you need help there? Or maybe you know who your customers are and you're like, Tita, I don't know where they are, but I'm not making another reel because I can't figure out how to break through, all of that noise on Instagram. What are some of your concerns or what are you thinking about when you're thinking about trying to find those ideal customers?
Would you mind putting your answer in the chat for those who were able
Yeah,
to?
you can put, yeah, put your, yes, that's perfect. Yeah, I'll keep, so I can see that.
I'll sort of speak up on that. Tita, I
Yeah.
attended one of your sessions a couple of months ago, and I know my target audience is registered nurses or advanced practice nurses, probably most likely age group 20 to about 40 something years of age.
Okay.
I started taking like some little classes and stuff to start figuring out ways to do a blast like on IG because I was really blessed to get some business marketing students to come in and do
Awesome.
an internship. So it's been noted that IG and LinkedIn would be the good venues or forums. I really don't want to go business to business. I want to go straight to consumer for the nurses because it's
Hmm.
really something to empower them. But I am not into this algorithm thing of IG and all of that. So it's taking some of the material that we have creative, making it into snippets and reaching them on that way. So it's probably something I could follow up with you one on one. But yeah, I know how to tap in. It's just the fact of getting the message sort of out there. And some people told me they changed the algorithm on IG and the various venues. Yeah.
Yes, I think just Constance, I'd love to speak with you one on one, so
Mhm.
definitely set up some time with me.
Okay.
You can do that through CoBiz. And
Okay.
I think something to think about just generally speaking with IG or Instagram, I really do like I struggle with this. It's not easy.
Uh-huh.
Everybody wants to be on social media because we believe it's free and we believe
Hmm.
that's where people are, and those things are only partially true.
Okay.
To use the platform, it's free. It doesn't cost you any money to create an account and
Mhm.
start posting content, but to do Instagram well and to maybe take the time to kind of see what's going to maybe resonate with your audience or try some different things and see what might help gain traction in getting views or getting follows from people, that while it's free and that there's no dollar value specifically attached to it, it's not free in the sense that you still have to take your time and effort to research in that space to figure out what's going to work. So that can absolutely take some time. And the second thing is that it can be really hard to actually reach the people that you want to reach on Instagram. And so I think when you are thinking about your audiences, it's thinking about if your audience is spending time there. And then, Constance, it sounds like you were definitely down that path, thinking about how to break up your content into snippets that might be digestible on Instagram. And then thinking about content formats, like whether it's reels or whether it's these carousel posts or et cetera, that might be grabbing people's attentions. And then it's also can be challenging as well because the algorithm it evolves over time and it can be hard to keep up. And so there is something to be said about being consistent there and making sure that your consistency there is paying off because there are other channels um, and some of those other channels that you can also think about would be email and also flyering, which doesn't really sound like that. It depends on your business. But I've had a lot of success with actually just running around places and putting signs and posters up everywhere. Um, but Constance, I'd love to chat with you more to see how else we can better reach some of the, I believe you said nurses and nurse practitioners.
Yes, yes. It's a e-learning, so it's dealing with their well-being. So it's like from the professional to personal, but they can get continuing education units to renew their license from it. So we've been accredited throughout the United States to do this.
That sounds like a really powerful offering. So
Mhm.
that's excellent. Thank you for helping take care of our nurses so that they can
Yeah.
help take care of us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, I
It looks
just saw
like
another question come in from Joe.
yep.
Okay. Um, I am not an expert on ads on Instagram, but I did hear from someone who does run ads on Instagram, and her anecdotal response here is that she used to be able to get decent results running ads for maybe like $10 to $20 a day, which for many people, this may be an approachable budget. And then more recently, she said she's actually stopped running ads because she was noticing that in order for her ads to be effective and actually reach people so that she could get some follows and maybe get some post interaction was closer to $100 a day. And so that's taken something from where Instagram, used to be known for, you could throw $10 a day at it and it would be a worthwhile place and you would have a good ROI on that to something that might be a little bit more challenging to break through. We haven't done any deep dive on Instagram, Wesley. So maybe whether that's myself or maybe if you've got a specific Instagram expert, that could be an interesting wraparound topic, perhaps for the future to chat about. I do know it's harder to cut through, and reach with people. I have an entire friend group that has started our own Signal chat because a lot of us are avoiding social media. So we only find out about stuff if our friends are either taking pictures of those flyers around town, or you do have some people are on social media, they're taking screenshots of the post and they're sending it into that group chat, or they're taking screenshots of emails and sending that into the group chat. So I think it is very worthwhile, whoever your audience is, whoever you're targeting, is actually getting them to sign up for your emails so that you have a direct line of communication with them that can't be taken away by a third party platform and is something you've got more control over. And then something, Joe, I know you mentioned that your organization was reaching youth ages 13 to 25. And I think the age demographic of who's active on Instagram is trending a little bit higher than that. So I actually just made an assumption. Are you actually referring to Instagram on your question, or are you using TikTok? Okay.
IG.
If it's IG and Facebook, I think it would be worth looking to see if TikTok is an interesting spot to spend some of your time and efforts. So I believe, like Instagram and Facebook, it is free to start. it's going to be free to create that account. Something that is helpful on TikTok that you will not see on Instagram and Facebook is you can create an account, begin creating content, and that content will be can be shown to people even if they're not necessarily following you. And that works a little bit different from TikTok to Instagram and Facebook. So that could be something that is interesting to test with as well. I admittedly don't actually have any experience on TikTok. I only watch the TikToks that are sent to me, and I've never actually gotten on or engaged with that app. But I think it could be an interesting spot to explore if you are going to consider a foray into TikTok. I would suggest spending some time on TikTok, seeing the kind of content that's on there, maybe looking at the content and thinking of yourself in your target customers' demographic, what they might like, what some of their common interests are, just to see what kind of content comes across your feed. And I am a big fan of market research, however informal and anecdotal. So, getting out there and talking to some of your target customers to understand where they're spending their time, what do they go to, what might they go on TikTok for. I don't know that I caught the name or what your business offers, but thinking about if someone is looking for a product or service like yours and they are in that age group, how might they find it? I think something powerful there is that if you can tap into maybe some of the social areas in where young people, teens, maybe college age students are spending your time, I think there's a potential path forward there of being able to reach people that way, especially if you are trying to do that organically.
Hey, Teeda, something that I think gets overlooked, and thank you for the feedback, Joe, and thank you for every Constance and Joe sharing. When we talk about understanding the ideal customer, a lot of times people just instantaneously think that digital marketing is the way. But for example, Miss Constance, if the nurses are at the hospitals or if they're part of associations that meet quarterly, sometimes it does. Sometimes the FaceTime with the audience might be more impactful. So, can you speak to how people can discover the habits of their ideal customers, where they're shopping at, where they're spending their time? That way, you can kind of meet them where they're at.
Yes, this is a good question. I think it absolutely depends on who your customers are and kind of the age group that they're in. Um, Sorry, I'm also reading Anatalio's question. So, but first, just speaking to how you can find where people are spending your time. I mean, they are your customers, so like talk to them. I talk to my friends constantly because I want to know if they are not learning about local events from Facebook or Instagram because they're not really on those platforms, how would they learn about them? And I have to tell you, it's not easy. I think there's a lot to be said about community and word of mouth as you can grow and nurture those things. I think there's a lot to be said about showing up in community places where people might be and being able to do flyering, especially if you're not in the place where you have budget for being in targeted communication. So, for example, if you are someone like Constance and you know that you are targeting nurses, is there an opportunity to network with professional nursing groups, or are there publications that nurses often maybe spending their time on? Is there a way, although the desire is not to go B2B, but is there a path forward into the hospital so you can share, hey, this is something that's available? And I think a lot of that takes getting a little bit creative and really is very much tailored to a specific situation. Trying to think of an example a real example at least that I'm working on. I'm working with a nonprofit organization in San Francisco. One of the things they're trying to do is to get young people, I think for them, we're still kind of defining what that target demographic is, but young people being probably from like their very, very early 20s on up, and people who are looking to make a difference, wanting to impact their communities, and also wanting to build a community of like-minded people who might be just as interested in talking about the impacts of AI on jobs, or maybe they just want to talk about, hey, is there a better way that we can help a local nonprofit that's providing services to perhaps like the unhoused population in the area? And um, we have talked about getting an intern to help us cut through TikTok and to understand how we can play there. We've talked about being in places where the young people are at, and that would be places like universities and community colleges and shopping centers like Stonestown, which is very near one of the local universities. And so that would be a place where you might be able to catch those people. These are all organic ways to do that. If you've got ad budget, then there's probably some more targeting that you can do because some of both of those Google and Facebook campaigns will allow you to not just have ads on Facebook or Instagram, but also place ads in other places where people may be like interacting on the internet and other places where you would see digital ads.
So I think
And now,
Antonio asked a question in regard to like the initial we have on the flyer, which is, what are the different ways to identify who your ideal customers are and then how to go about reaching them, which I think is really the essence of this particular
right.
conversation today. Um,
I do think it depends on the size of the business. So, Anatolia, can get you give me a sense of the size of the business? Is this a small business? Is it a small nonprofit? Is it a larger corporation? Some sense because that's going to really, I think that's going to impact the potential budget that might be allotted to this, and um that will definitely give different opportunities based on what kind of potential resources that you would have in this case. But I do think, broadly, generally speaking, that if you've got business clients that are a little bit larger and do actually have budgets to spend in this area, there is a lot to be said about being able to look into market research and different white papers. And okay, all right, so these are businesses with fewer than 20 employees, maybe fewer than 10 employees, not a giant, not a huge revenue, but I mean, I would assume that with this kind of revenue, there is a little there is money to either hire someone who is going to be able to support with this effort or being able to have some ad spend that is accompanying this. So I think generally, if you are looking to identify your target customers. I think really this falls under the category of market research. So it depends on a combination of the ideal customers and then the problem that your business is trying to solve for those ideal customers, and then figuring out how to reach those people with your product. And I think a lot of that starts to go to, is it professional publications? Is it something that makes sense to go to any kind of conferences or trade shows? Is this something where you're making a thought leadership play for on LinkedIn? And is this something where you would want to do a collaboration with somebody else in a similar space? To me, I see collaborating with another person or an organization or working with an influencer as two different things. So when I think about an influencer, I see that as I or a business would give somebody money to basically promote or advertise for me on their behalf. And the relationship may not go much further than having this influencer do a certain number of posts or kind of whatever that agreement may be outlined. Whereas a collaboration, I see this as more of an ongoing relationship where both sides receive a benefit. So I do think that in the arrangement where if you're hiring an influencer who's going to do some stuff on social media for you, um, the influence or the benefit to the influencer is cold hard cash. Maybe it's free product. And then the benefit to you is reach. You're going to be able to reach the influencers network and with the idea that if the product market fit is really good, that influencer is going to be able to draw in interest to your product or services. I have not personally worked with any influencers. I think that now, because there are many, many influencers everywhere, it can be difficult for customers to know if that influencer really believes in what they are promoting, or if it's something that they're doing that might be a little bit more transactional, where they're just staying at this hotel, someone paid to stay at this hotel, and then they gave the hotel a review. I think it feels less authentic than it did when influencers first started arriving on the scene. So when I say collaboration, I mean something a little bit different, and I mean I mean a deeper relationship. And so I think this is nuanced here, but I do think that relationship let's see. I'm trying to think, maybe I'm trying to think of an example that will hopefully better illustrate this. And all right, here's an example. This doesn't exist today, but if there is a very large Facebook group in Pacifica. It's called Pacifica Whale Spotting. There are like hundreds of thousands of people in this group, and this group exists for the sole purpose to tell people when and where you can see the whales in Pacifica, and then people like go out and see them. It's a really cool group. It's entirely grown organically. And this group has spawned a couple of different collaborations. One is that they're now working with one of the local whale watching groups that is out of San Francisco, and that whale watching group provides a small discount for the people who, may learn about it through the group and like book using that code. And it's good publicity for them because there are always people asking, what's a good tour group that you would recommend? And now we can say, hey, if you go with this company, they offer a discount. Another way that this particular group has not done a collaboration yet, but I think is really cool, would be they could work with one of the local t-shirt makers and designers to design a shirt for this group. And then, kind of that would promote the business and promote the group. Maybe a percentage of the sales goes to naming the next whale, which you can do through this organization. I think it's called Happy Whale, where there's actually a directory of all of the different whales, and you can identify them and you can log sightings of the different whales. So I think that's definitely a little bit more grassroots. I'm definitely happy to talk about more collaboration examples. And Anatalia, if you would like to schedule time with me, I'd love to dig into really more about your specific situation so that I can provide some examples for you that hopefully will resonate a little bit more than some of these kind of general examples. That's a really good question, though.
I guess to piggyback off that, um, for most of the people on the line, they have their business already is operating. They currently have customers. Um, how can they utilize surveys? How can they utilize the information from their current customers to really hone in on who their ideal target customer is?
Yeah.
Um,
I think a lot of this you can see through you might be able to get some demographic from the behaviors that they're already seeing. You should be looking at your own data, like what you might be getting from customer service. I think a lot of times customer service, depending on how they're logging their notes, that can really be a treasure trove of information. And some of these responses are a little bit less around finding your target customer, but maybe understanding your customer's needs a little bit better. If you have a website, you can see what people are searching on the website. You might not know who is searching for what, but if you own a website and people are constantly searching for supplements and you're like, I have supplements on the website, how come they can't find them? This might tell you that your product hierarchy or how your navigation is positioned isn't helpful to the customer, and there's an opportunity to look there. But I think, Wesley, generally speaking, that's a very important point to consider, is just what information do I already have? And what could I do to send out a survey? And I think when thinking about your survey, you're going to want to do a few things. You're going to want to keep it fairly brief. You're going to want to tell people how much time should I spend, or sorry, how much time might I expect to spend on this survey? So saying, hey, this survey is going to take 3 minutes, and make sure that your survey does take 3 minutes so that people can feel excited or not, maybe perhaps not excited. They can feel comfortable in going, okay, it's going to take 3 minutes. It is not going to take me forever to do this. And then explaining to people why you'd like their help. So if maybe you do have multiple demographics that you've been able to identify, you could try sending a survey just to those who you know, your top sellers, to try to hone in on that a little bit more. Or if you don't have that information or you want to further clarify, you could send that survey to your entire, email marketing list, and then making sure to ask enough demographic questions in there so that you could start to create your segments. And you should absolutely think about your survey design to make sure that you're asking questions that don't give you aren't that aren't leading your customers, because you may get some inaccurate information that way. And really thinking about what is it that you actually want to know, and then backing into the questions that would make the most sense. This is something that I think Google is really helpful for because Google will also give you some guidance on how you can set up the survey scoring if that's not someone, if you don't have anyone at your company who is familiar with writing surveys. It's true that anybody can write a survey and anyone can write a survey on SurveyMonkey or Google Forms, but there is a little bit of a both an art and a science to writing a survey so that when you get the results back, that the results could actually be statistically significant, so you can feel confident that the responses you have are worthwhile and something that you can use as part of your decision making process.
Gotcha. If I recall earlier, you said market research. Um, for a marketer, I think you know what that is, but what does that look like in real life? Like
Yeah,
for
I
people who aren't marketers.
Right. So there are market research firms and companies that you'd be able to hire. You could hire a market research firm that's actually going to conduct surveys and studies for you on your behalf. You could also kind of conduct your own market research by being able to identify different white papers and research that other folks have done on the market and using those to compile data for your own purposes. But market researchers, I think one of their biggest advantages is that they are going to be able to reach a really large group of people that are going to meet the demographics that you may have in place, right? Because if you're just emailing your own customers, that's going to be somewhat informative, but it may be limiting because you then don't have the opportunity to understand what people might need if they maybe haven't heard of your company before or aren't currently customers of your company. And a market research firm will be able to conduct a much more broad they'll be able to survey more people who are going to meet your criteria, and that should also provide you with richer data. Um, but I'm not sure on the cost of that, and that would probably depend on many different factors. But it is something that can be worth investing in, especially if you think you're going to pivot with your company and what you're going to offer. You're thinking about expanding into a new area that you've not expanded into before, but being able to do some of that research can help validate or confirm that you're making a decision and spending that money and effort in the right space.
And how does the market research help with identification of your primary target customer and their buying habits and their needs? How does that help?
I think part of that is they're going to need some information from you on that. But I also think if you went to the market research firm and you said, I've got this product X, Y, and Z, this is a new product. I've got existing customers who like this other product. They will be able to help you benchmark and lean into that. Although I'm not familiar with any of market research firms that may offer those services. But I'm happy to help take a look and do a little Googling myself if this is something that is of interest and relevance to people.
And if someone doesn't have the funds to afford to get a market research firm, how can they use Claude AI or Google or different platforms to do some research to kind of get a sense of them, better understand the needs of their customers?
Yeah, I think it would be good to use that to understand what questions they should be that people could be asking. And it would be helpful to use that, I think, to find if there are other markets you hadn't considered. So, for example, if there's a company that's selling a vacuum, they are probably going to target parents. They know they're going to target parents. But who else uses vacuums? Well, maybe the hair salon needs a vacuum or the veterinary office, and there's maybe these other pockets of customers that may find that product relevant. And so I think market research and identifying the use cases and the problems that your product can solve can help unlock additional markets that you hadn't originally, that maybe you weren't originally in your consideration set.
Like I think I tell you share. Yep, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Antonio.
Oh, thank you. That's very handy. I'm going to click on all these links so that I can make sure to take a look at them later.
Yep. And don't forget your library has a wealth of resources available in person or online, where some of these resources are available, or your local community college, or your local university, or even your alumni. If you're alumni of your university, you might be surprised at some of the resources available to you at no charge at times.
I also think as well, if you are thinking about market research on that note around universities, I had to take an entire class on like survey writing, because even though anyone can write a survey, not anybody can write a survey well without a little bit of, a little bit of training. I only took one class on this. Um, so I think there's potential opportunities to partner with your local universities. And this could just be finding the professor in the marketing department who teaches market research. And maybe you're able to utilize that as an angle to say, hey, I'd love for your students help in writing and giving them the parameters and having them support in conducting and doing the survey. It would still be on you, or potentially you might still need to partner, or you may have to still pay somebody in order to have them get that survey in front of people who you would like to have complete the survey. But it'd be a great project for college students learning how to write their first survey to actually do that. And then, if the timing works out, given the semester schedule, being able to share those survey results with that class to have them see, like, hey, here's how it worked. Here's how, because I remember having to do surveys when I was in school, and we would just pass out little slips of paper in the cafeteria to get people to fill out our surveys, which is, I mean, that's fine to do, but I think it would feel a lot more impactful and powerful to know that, oh, the survey results that we collected are going to be a business is actually going to use them, and will be relying on that information. If there aren't any other questions at this time, um, I don't know that I know everyone who's on the call, and I don't know if you all know each other. Um, Wesley, what do you think about let's all have everyone introduce each other? Perhaps there are other connections that are to be made here, and we won't know that if we don't take a couple minutes to know what everyone else does and see if there's other connections that we are not going to know about if I just talk the whole time.
Amen. I agree with you.
All right.
Well,
Constance, may I pick on you first because you've already spoken today, please?
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
So I'm Constance. I have about 30 some years in nursing. And so my passion is for healthcare workers, all of them, including physicians, and mainly their well being. So we've done some community immersions in Ireland and Grenada, where it's been a benefit for a couple of health organizations to allow their staff to go and to do community participatory sort of approach to health. So that's one service. But the other biggie is really the e-learning. So I'm in that space of e-learning and making it more than just work, beyond work, help them deal with day to day sort of problem solving as well.
Thank you, Constance. Joe, I saw you came off mute. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. How's
Thanks,
everybody
Joe.
doing? Can y'all
Great.
hear me? All right, great, great. Yeah, Joe Spencer, work primarily in education and also have the pleasure and honor of working with all the good folks at CoBiz. Big shouts to Wes and the CoBizian family. Um, the organization I was referring to, Teeda, thank you again for the information, was our organization called the Empowering Mind. We are a youth-focused educational support group. We provide educational services to help young people and adults in education, K through 12, entrepreneurship development, workforce development, and leadership and life skills. And we started in the Central Valley, Stockton in particular, San Joaquin County, but we're also out here in the Bay Area and also in Fresno County. So we work once again, in high schools, public schools, charter schools, and in colleges. And we try to do, events and workshops, usually in after school settings, and also on the weekends too. We also do summer school programs. So just always trying to engage young people and let them know what we got going on to help them out in school and also in their professional lives.
Nice.
And Joe, based on the audience that you're serving, what's some of the pain points that they're experiencing that you're trying to solve?
Definitely, you just getting them there, especially to some of our events. Over the years, we've struggled with having young people attend some of the events that happen on the weekends or even during the weekdays because with school and conflicting extracurricular activities, whether it be sports and clubs and things like that. So we've tried to do some things online, but you know, because there a lot of folks are online, we just wanted to try to, that's why the question was asked, so we can try to cut through some of the, you know, ad stuff and things like that, so we can try to engage them a little better. But over the years, we've been seeing more and more ads and just different things that just seem like they're not getting the exposure when we do the marketing. But like you mentioned, kind of we probably had to put some more money into it because it's the prices are going up on things, so we probably have to just add more money to our approach.
Or another thing, when you think of the ideal target customer, there a lot of times they're part of other organizations may have reached to those particular stakeholders. So how do you tag them? How do you create collaborative opportunities for a post or relationships with let's say the youth services department of the county or the youth
Yes,
services department of the city, and allow the audience that they already have connections to be the amplifier for you, the parent resource groups for the different schools, right? Because
yes, sir.
sometimes the spend, like we're not, sometimes the money spend is sometimes can be a waste too because we're not on
Mhm.
the budgets to compete in that way too. So it just depends.
Very good point. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any thoughts, Tita?
No, makes sense. I had just typed in going to organizations like Boys and Girls Club, possibly the YMCA, but I think Wesley, you were on point there, thinking more broadly. And it's like, hey, how can the county help you? I think youth educational services are something that people, I think they sometimes actively seek out, but it could be something where it's like, I didn't know we had this. That sounds cool. I think my kid might like to go, or maybe, the teen sees and then decides they'd like to go. And I think cutting through the clutter is always it's just always hard. And I think it could also be encouraging those people who are already there and part of it, encouraging them to become an ambassador and encouraging them to have a friend. Maybe there's an event that's a pizza party. Hey, bring a friend. And maybe that's not something they normally get to do, but maybe the special thing is, hey, you get to bring a friend for free this Friday, and help to encourage people to have somebody else
Nice.
join them.
Nice. Absolutely. Thank you, T.
Yep.
Kim, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what you do?
Yep.
Hey kids, Kim Trasero. I'm with Trasero Solutions. I'm a consultant. I work with all the do-gooders, all the social impact, social enterprise, nonprofits, all the rebel rousers, and so I help with operations and all the boring administrative back end things, and also technology and digital security. I'm not the one that coined this term, but I identify as an org doula.
Kim, any challenges identifying or reaching your target customer?
Well, where do we begin? I mean, I think it was addressed a little earlier around just like the validity of some of the platforms and whether those are the channels that we're going to reach our folks. I think in general, because I do work with a lot of community-based organizations, a lot of these corporate tools, we know there's surveillance, privacy concerns, ethical concerns. They're harming the same communities that are that are using these platforms, and so I think there's a lot of challenge around what we can really use ethically. that are values aligned. And so social media is obviously, pretty contentious because, a lot of folks don't want to be on those platforms. And yet it's kind of if like me, I have my feed pretty curated. So it's like either it's super ratchet or it's very informational and community building. So, I think it can be challenging to have a strategy on there when we know that, the algorithms, I mean, I think someone mentioned, right? They're not in our favor. And so a lot of our work is being suppressed or shadow banned. And so just being, I think, clear on what its purpose um, is and how to use it, I think, realistically. And so, yeah, I think for me, it's just knowing that, I mean, I still do have a presence. I have a website. I do post on social media, but really understanding like what does it really serve for me in my particular, business use case.
Kim, this is something that I don't know that I could do it, but something that I would aspire to do, and maybe it makes sense for you. You have a blackout on social media. If you'd like to learn more, like you have a presence on social media because someone might discover you that way, and it does allow people to still tag you in a post, and maybe you can get on there and you're only like reposting if someone else tags you, or if maybe you're posting to stories. And then that information, so some anyone goes to your profile, you say, hey, you know what? We don't, some of the policies of this organization may not align with the values of this organization that you're supporting or that you're working on behalf of. And if you'd like to find out more about us and stay up to date with us, the best way to do that is to sign up for our emails. I've not seen anyone do this campaign yet. I've not looked for it, but I think it's a really cool idea because I think when people do find organizations or companies that they want to hear from, they really do care about hearing from them. Um, and you can connect with them directly and you can communicate with them via email. And that is another, I know that that's another effort and another muscle that someone in the organization, whether it's you or someone else, is going to have to do. Um, but perhaps it lets you feel like your work is more values aligned and gives you more options in the strategy that way. But it does make discoverability a little bit harder because someone still has to find you to sign up for your email list. The same way, though, anyone still has to find you on Instagram in order to follow you at all.
Yeah, no, I receive that. It's because it's interesting. It's also a way that people stay connected. So, I mean,
Yes.
I'm in these streets a lot, and so it's really easy to share a profile, send a quick DM,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And then just that's how you stay top of mind versus I think kind of old school business card sharing. I mean, I even have a digital business card, but I find that most folks want to connect with me either on a social media platform, whether it's
Mhm.
I think my two primary are Instagram and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I think those are I mean, I'm on like the other alternative ones, but they don't have as much traction, so definitely not the same kind of user base.
Hmm.
So I mean, I think newsletter for sure. I mean, I think the piece for me because I'm still early in bringing in resources to do some of those tasks, and so it's easier for me to create a handful of posts than I would say a newsletter.
Yeah.
Right. So definitely like hashtag goals to start trying to build an email list that I can then send to. The funny thing is I don't have a lot of engagement on my social media, although I do have people that consistently tell me that comment on something that I've shared, information that I've shared, even though they
Hmm.
don't like engage with it. So it's hitting somewhere in the ethos.
Yes.
Awesome.
Andre, in our last couple of minutes, if you're able, would love to hear from you as well.
Hello, I'm Andre. I am I'm a Cobizian too. And I work in the industry of arts, creatives. I have a production company called Dre Lendless Productions, and I have a nonprofit called Brain Unchained, and it's literally mental health support and resources for the creative. And many times I merge the two, just to kind of just to kind of, you know, use all of those resources. Brain Unchained, it is like 3 years old, but it's still new. Dre Limitless, I kind of started Dre Limitless to do my own films and things and kind of tell stories on my own in that type of way. So that's it.
That's awesome. Well, I will be looking forward to connecting with all of you on either LinkedIn or Instagram in the next couple of days. I'll try to find all of you. And if not, I hope you'll reach out to me either through the CoBiz office hours or through my website. I think it's on my website is here. I'll drop it into the chat. It is helloitsteeda.com. Maybe I'll hear from you. It's nice to see a couple of familiar names and faces. And if there's any questions, we still have a couple more minutes. If not, I'm happy to let everyone, continue on with their evenings.
Yes, I want to thank Teeda for making time to partner with us in this way. Sometimes we need a reminder. Sometimes this is information we're hearing for the first time, but we really appreciate the perspectives and the information and insights that you offered. I also want to thank everyone on the call for being present. There's a lot happening. It's a small business week, so many different events are happening. But we thank you for choosing us today. And hopefully, as you go about with your business or your nonprofit or your startup, you really think about not giving a generic answer when it comes to who you're trying to target. Um, if you're looking to reach the different populations, like how can you describe them? What's their buyer persona, right? We really want to. The more specific you are, the more we can relay that information to the stakeholders we serve. Hey, you know what? I know there's someone here at CoBiz, or someone in the community, or someone in the county, or someone in the state. So the more you're able to articulate, the more we can collectively be the algorithm for you, because we can speak to people and speak to businesses and organizations and help you get to where you need to get to. So thank you guys for being present and do the wraparound services with Tita. I think you will love the one-on-ones with her. And tap in while we have the resource, like we have it. So let's tap in.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Thank you. See you, Kim. See you, Constance, Joe. Andre, appreciate you. And Tita, have a good
Thank
week. Enjoy.
you.
Thank you. Bye,
Have a good
everyone.
one, everybody. Take
All
care.
right.
Thank you, guys. Stop this.